Evan Moor has been creating supplementing materials for over 40 years. Their books are super easy to follow and work with. Evan Moor offered me a copy of Building Spelling Skills for 5th grade to review, and I will walk you through what we liked about it. Hi everyone, this is Laura from monkeymom.com, helping you choose the best materials with complete reviews and tips for homeschoolers. If you're new here, consider subscribing and don't forget to grab my free printables from our resource library, which is linked in the description below. We've tried numerous spelling programs over the years and they've all had good and bad parts, but our main problem with them was they were hard to follow through because there was just too much to do for each lesson. If you haven't heard about Evan Moor yet, they are a renowned educational publisher of supplemental materials for homeschooling parents or schools. So this is our copy of Building Spelling Skills Grade 5. This series covers Grade 1 through 6 and you can buy it both in ebook or printed format. Both are linked in the description below. We received an ebook format so you can see how this looks like printed and bound at home. The ebook format also allows me to print certain sections which need to be copied, like the spelling test sheet or the list of words. You can also see a full preview of this workbook online on their website. I will switch my camera over so you get a full view of the book while I walk you through each section. So this workbook has everything you need to just open and start your lessons. No prep work required. You can see the contents here. In the first part, you have the teaching strategies followed by the lessons and reproductibles with answer keys at the end. The scope and sequence section will show you what your child will be learning. For example, spelling words with R-controlled vowel sounds or contractions, the long E sound, and so on. This is very useful if you want to check at a glance what's being covered in each lesson or for record keeping purposes. On to the Teaching the Weekly unit. This is where you'll find detailed instructions on how you should teach each lesson and how you can break the lesson into daily activities. On the sidebars, you can see a sample preview of the pages on a particular day. Also, you are advised to start the year by copying their spelling strategies pages and discussing them with your child. We will get to those pages in a moment. You can see that Mondays are the longest days for the spelling instruction because that's when you introduce the words and write them in various forms from copywork to cover and spell. The next page covers the remaining 4 days of the week. Tuesdays are for word meaning and dictations. Wednesdays and Thursdays for word study and spelling activities, and finally on Friday you have the weekly spelling test. You can see how nicely laid out they are and how each week the kids will be expected to perform similar activities, but you'll see in a moment how they vary throughout the book even if the main template is the same. On these 2 pages, you can see the spelling strategies that they were mentioning at the beginning of the book. I printed these on colored cardstock and we keep them handy for review. They are basically the correct steps of learning new spelling words. You could put them up as posters for your kids to check on, or even make them into cards like we did with page number 2. Which reminds them how to approach each lesson. This way they can go through the lessons independently. This section covers the dictation sentences. Each week you will have 2 sentences to dictate. All of them are right here and I just copied them separately so I have easy access to them. The sentences have some of the spelling words included, and again Evan Moor has some suggestions on how this should be done, like asking students to listen to the complete sentence, repeat it, write it down, and then read it aloud again for them to recheck. These are great tips, especially since a lot of kids rush through and don't usually revise their work. We are doing our best to implement these steps each time. These next pages all have the word lists. We chose to transform these into bookmarks. I printed each list on colored cardstock. I chose to print it on 70% of the page, so they are smaller. It's a very handy list that's easy to review, and you'll see how we use these in a moment. Now we reach to the main lessons, and I will quickly show you how a week looks like. You basically do 1 page per day, and on Friday you have a spelling test. Building Spelling Skills is divided into 30 lessons, which translates to 30 weeks of school, and the lessons are then divided into 5 days, 4 days of instruction and exercises plus 1 day for the spelling test. The spelling test page is found in the reproducible section at the end of this book. On Mondays, the children read the words on the left-hand side. We usually discuss the words he doesn't know the meaning of. I also encourage him to use each word in a simple sentence, so I check that he knows its meaning. Next, he is supposed to copy each word, but this would be too much for my son who hates writing. So instead, we just skip to the second column. They are supposed to fold the page inwards so the list doesn't show, and then write the words as they recall them. We do it a bit differently. I use other colored bookmarks to cover the words on the left instead of folding the paper over. I dictate the words to him by using the bookmarks I created. At the end, he checks his own spelling and then compares it to the given list. If there are any misspelled words, he will circle them on his bookmark and copy them on the first column. You can notice that at the bottom of the list, there are 2 spaces for bonus words. You can use this in 2 ways, either incorporate difficult words you might find somewhere else or choose the misspelled words from the previous week to add to this space. The next page is meant for Tuesday, and it usually has an activity to check the word meaning followed by dictation. Mine went ahead and wrote his own 2 sentences here instead. Wednesdays and Thursdays will be spent doing various word study and editing activities. You can see from the next pages that all these activities are varied. They cover filling the blanks, crossword puzzles, rhyming words, antonyms, homonyms, listing words by their sound, syllable exercises, editing sentences and texts, and more. I love that the activities aren't too repetitive. At the end of the book, you can find the reproductibles, and I will quickly show them to you. On this page, you have a record-keeping sheet, useful for classrooms, and on the other page, a My Spelling record sheet, where kids can keep a log of their work. They can log the number of correct words, or even write down their misspelled words. This is the sheet that you will print out for each spelling test. You can see it has the numbered spaces for all the 15 words, and below the spaces for the 2 sentences you'll dictate. The next page can be used to create your own spelling list. We are using this to write down words from books we read aloud. Here's an example of a spelling list from The Little House on the Prairie, the book we are currently reading. This next section is my son's favorite. He even created a crossword puzzle using this. You can download his puzzle from our resource library on my website. The link is in the description. On to the spelling dictionaries. We haven't done this activity, but it's a great one if you want to do it. It has step-by-step instructions on how your kids can create a spelling dictionary of their own. The next page is a certificate for completing all the lessons, and then you have a master word list, which is great for consulting all the spelling words covered in this book. The final section is the answer keys, which comes in handy for busy parents. So this was a complete flip through Building Spelling Skills for 5th grade. You can also consult the complete book on Evan Moor's website. So there you have it. I hope you've gotten a general idea on how this might work or not work for your family. There are multiple things I love about this, from the way it's organized to the fact that it's open and go for the parent. We find that the material isn't overwhelming since you just need to do 1 page per day, and the activities throughout the book are varied enough to keep kids from getting bored. I like that these workbooks are affordable since they can be bought in PDF format. Evan Moor offers regular discounts, which I'm also posting on my Facebook page, so make sure to check that out. Building Spelling Skills is accessible and easy to implement. It's not overwhelming, so it can be used consistently in any homeschool setting. Its format allows it to also be done independently by your children. This spelling workbook doesn't require any prep work from the parent and is very easy to adapt. We condensed it so we are finished with a lesson in 3 days by solving 2 pages a day. I warmly recommend Building Spelling Skills from Evan Moor for homeschoolers that have less time for spelling in their schedules or that want something easy to implement. It's also a great fit for children that weren't successful with other spelling curricula, since Building Spelling Skills approaches spelling in a more traditional way. If you've enjoyed watching this video, don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button. Until next time, stay curious.